Good morning. That in the that nga zo tiri simji ban hendong che yangda zo be chang chu to da zo simji ban hendong che simji hen ke tong na tene simji yu na ki ke yangda ho zo be zo to yes.
So when we generate the mind of bodhicitta based on the wish to benefit others, not only, even as we're focused on the benefit of others, we also accomplish our own benefit. Because it's through this mind of bodhicitta and the altruistic mind that wishes to benefit others that we can attain enlightenment.
다파라 가성말이 다파 휴대기 요래 되네는 조 같으나 가서 담배기 추 로그 요래 담배기 추 로바트나 좀생 카진 두고 같으나 라게 되네 샘라 히와 대와 어다 되네지 그 고치도 아주 두고 요래 되네지 내가 양 시대기 치도 양 다도 양 되네 다 남체 열기 공방 더 버체 치어도 어다 되네지 때네 아주 두고 요래. Yes.
And we always say over and over again, the point of engaging in Dharma practice is principally, to pacify our mind, to subdue our mind stream. And so when we practice Dharma correctly, then we accomplish temporary happiness because our mind becomes peaceful and happy, and we also accomplish the ultimate happiness of liberation and complete enlightenment.
차도 올라오는데요. 근데 이제 걔네가라 아주 샘나더니 내가 용근도와 시와 용근도와 되게 딱 그래. 근데 따내가라 이空中 해당 차도 올라서 발랑되네가 그런 배지. 시와요 말이 대화요 말이 시와랑 대화도 전부 그런 디스토리 정말 돌샤요. 어다 근데 인도 여기 다힘지들 걔네지 햄해 배나지 인간다고 장접선다고 제대로 내가라 이양나지 대봐 뭐봐 어다 되게 제대로 내가라 뭐니지 군배 가서보다 내가 대가랑 되게 셈 해와 되게 셈 대와 뭐도 되게 용구요.
So when our mind is not pervaded by any particular afflictive emotion. When we have like a good intentions in our mind, when we have a virtuous mind state, our mind is generally, like peaceful and happy, and we feel relaxed and at ease. So we can know, by investigating our own mind states, how we feel, when we have virtue in our mind, and how we feel when we have non-virtue in our mind. So we need to examine inwardly, what happens when we have different emotions in our mind stream. When we give rise to negative emotions like anger or hatred, jealousy, etc., how do we feel? We certainly, don't feel peaceful, and we don't feel happy. In fact, we feel very disturbed. We feel very agitated and miserable, really. So as long as we have these negative emotions in our mind stream, like anger and jealousy, we won't have any peace of mind. We won't have any happiness, because the moment those negative emotions arise, they destroy whatever peace and happiness there is. They just completely destroy it. And so, in that case, we really, if we want to be happy, then the best way to do this is to really cultivate the wish to benefit others, to cultivate, positive, virtuous mind states like love and compassion, and so forth. And then, if we develop those mind states, then we will temporarily, like we will have, we'll feel happy, we'll feel good. Dini tama lagari something?
Tamade Karsanaji Terwa So Karsanaji the Lapsa Kanda di Hiwada, Dewa Juniate, Koji, Tattoo Yang, Nikao Yang Yores, Tattoo Yang Yores.
No, so if we develop an altruistic mind, then we will have peace and happiness, both temporarily, meaning, during this life, and also ultimately in future lives, we'll have happiness, and it leads to the ultimate fruition of, freedom from suffering entirely, Buddhahood.
That day, Joe Cartes, Joan Jitan Sumre, Keji Jilatin, Sambe Ranzo, Sonaji, Mato Geveki Lee or nothing. Keji, Sambe Ranzo to Togre, so Sambe Ranzo Sena, Sambe Ranzo Carsena, Pe Hedalana, Hedan Cassandri, Dunia Ranzo, Taran, your aim. Hembata, Ninji, a Tela is a data with Tebata Mobalimba, Teba, Moba, Tawa, or Tility you in Yakala, Kotera, Sambe Ranzo, Koraya, Deva, Koram, your is.
So, Lord Jigten Sungun also says, the moment, like in the instant that a thought arises, there is, the mind like becomes that thought. So, like, or the mind is penetrated by that thought. Meaning, the moment that you give rise to anger or an afflictive emotion, like, you're immediately sort of stabbed with the pain of anger, because then you immediately feel, the suffering of anger, because it makes you unhappy and it makes you agitated. But if you have positive emotions like, faith and devotion, and, like an altruistic intention, then immediately, the moment that thought arises, it pervades you, and so therefore, the feeling is happiness, and it's blissful, and it feels good.
What that Yana Yikida, Sambe Ranzo in Badini, Rongi or Oh, Sanji Jim Dende, Sanji Pevinicala, Div Mambo, Tony, Div Mambo Tombi Gala, Div Sanjela, dance the Puyo is Sanjela. Sanjela dance the Puyo, Sanji Molam Dap, Div the Hison, Div the Hison Megala, make Java, Leon is. 요레스 메이지 원래는 거나 다 간이나 로직 두지나 간이나 되는 딘디지 강나 되는 거라 상지를 대법 모바로 딘디 유들은 샤리프 그 통을 샤리프 통되는 샤리프가 라요레 소다데 샤리프가 아마라라고 이거로 아마라 되니 다디 부분에 배야고래 스메마 거나 되는데 다 루지노 휘 라요라 루지노 보레 되네 단단데 자와치비나 아직 상지 좀 내들이 군들의 자와치 되는 치비나 다좀 고모 투그레스 라요라 왔더니 아메리카다 야고레스 아메리카 예치네 어떤 자와치 고레스 상지 좀 내들이 아프그레스 라요라 텔라네 되네 거랑테 다 조가 하스벤 나래도 갈라다티 맞아 보고 믹스인도 같은 인사를 스틸링 땅에 공소 야보이거를 라브도 되는데 지 타와치야다 공발이야 같은 치야라는 것이 샤리프 같은 티소는 라비오레스.
There's a story about when during the time of the Buddha. The Buddha once, encountered like a bunch of monkeys. There are all these monkeys, and there was one monkey who offered honey to the Buddha. And when he offered honey to the Buddha, then the Buddha made an aspiration prayer for the monkey. And then the monkey quickly died after that and took rebirth as a human. And then Shariputra, one of the Buddha's main disciples, saw with clairvoyance that this little boy, he came across the little boy who had been the monkey in his former life, and he saw, that he had, as a monkey, he had made this really auspicious offering to the Buddha. So he said to the boy's mother, he told the mother that. If he has this very profound connection with the Buddha, and if he were to become a monk, it would be extremely virtuous, and he will eventually he'll attain arhatship. And so the mother thought, oh well, that's very good. So she said, okay, that's wonderful. I'll offer my son then to the Buddha, and he can become a monk. And so then the mother went home to her husband, and she told her husband all that had transpired, and she said, I met this the noble Shariputra, and he told me that we have a very special child, and that he should be ordained.
딜리 카야냐 마카야 총이가 말했을 때 부초야레스 다티 자와니 거라지 스틸링도 맞고 제모왕용부터는 초기거리라더니 다들 되게 말이라 저 같은 로그가 왔더니 꼭 사야 선지 당신이 딜거라 때문에 해당한 게 거래스
Sanjay Salvador Yore.
산지 같은 용기가 와.
So the father became furious, actually, when he heard this, that the mother had offered their son, to the Buddha to become a monk. And he just thought it was all lies, what she had been told by Shariputra, that, they just wanted to steal that he just wanted to steal their son. And so he was extremely angry, incredibly angry, and he was like, this is completely not okay, they just stole our son. So he, marched over to where the Buddha was staying, together with his entourage, and he was just livid. He was really angry, with the Buddha and the whole assembly of monks.
상직 세트네 갈라고 해서 다 고베 공로사기 거래서 그 단다 10이나 되네 배 람상 거라 깨지들 여러 지역에 정도 앞에 공로디 공로 협계다 되네 거라야데 상직은 지인데 상직배 라면서 저런 꼭 특집에 가라 간디기 중송화 되네 직지위 제당되는 체계도 해야 되네 뭐 티어에 스티디 되는 거 되네 거라 상직지 여러 상직 토교로 된 상직 거라 대화 단계 거라 저랑 그때라 당복복 중종강라 직디브나지 체계도에서 직다 직디브를 가고 체계도에 행동을 가고 행동 여러 힘을 가고 디브다 힘을 가고 여러 드니 체계도에 뭐 티어레스
디 부구라
말이 거랑 바와라 다 바와 공로베 사루 여러 항상 공로사니다 상제 토요로와 상제 라부요로와 상제 저랑이 고고자 송 라부요로와 그 상제 파와라 우바와라 라부요로와 저랑 당보 북충용 강라
Ah, yeah.
북도 칸디지 요레스
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
근데 북지 지방 칸디지 요레스
Mhm.
직티브는 이 체계레스
Mhm.
근데 코로나 행동을 가고 요레스
Mhm.
그 뭐고 계제 저기요로와
Mhm.
근데 거빠가 스탠디로 다들 되게 요레스 근데 거기 직티브는 이 체계레스 근데 행을 배가고 요레스 행동을 가고 요레스 라부요로와
Mhm. So then the Buddha saw that that the father was so furious, and he thought, if that this is so dangerous for this man, because he's so furious right now that if he were to die in this moment, he would be instantly reborn in hell because of the intensity of his angry mind. And so then, he asked the man, he said, okay, please tell me, what was your son like when he was a little child? Did he behave at all like a monkey? Did he did he show a particular affinity for trees? Did he like to eat fruits? Did he sort of deport himself a little bit like a monkey? And then the man kind of thought, and he sort of remembered, yeah, actually he kind of was.
Trida ko backsport che siamo bollavi cala te corangone yeche yore sta ne yeche ne corangpe joshachi no ta te ngone sanje da ti ko khod do ngone tamjin chen ba de heng do sina ta te ta ngaran te ma song te chi ngone khongso de ni bu de ya bo zi ne ji bu to na de ma to sanje da khang ya de ne ji bu de yo na de me na de phe khang ya to ko ma de khongso ji chang ba da ning ye to ne ni bu le zai wa chi ne de 다좀에 공방토비아 코르웨 동네에 토리아 탑대 요래 텐데는 당에 문에 되고 마서 말아 용모 바텔에 때네 지 성제라 되네 지 lok다로 지 테니치 정도는 건조샤 여바지 조샤지 되네 지 생탕마라고 지 생탕마지 상지는 대바 이제지에 되는 테니 요래스
So they, had some conversation back and forth, and as the father, was speaking to the Buddha, his mind became more and more pacified, and he no longer was so angry, and he started to realize that he was completely mistaken, that the Buddha really was omniscient, and that the Buddha and his assembly of monks were like truly dedicated to virtue, and that the intention that for his son, taking his son was purely one of like an altruistic intention that really wanted to only benefit his son by his son becoming a monk and practicing with the sangha. Then he could attain arhatship, and this and so he realized that the Buddha's intention was one of pure compassion. And so he felt terribly embarrassed and really regretful for having become so angry and having given rise to wrong view regarding the Buddha. And so then he gave rise to a great faith in that he confessed his negativity or his negative mind state, and he instead gave rise to a really great faith in the Buddha.
뭐다 된데 대자무 삼는 거보다 된데 지티 상제게 가서는지 상제 말하냐 가야 사람 치도 말해서 콘서트 치야 돼 국민복지부부터 나 치들인도 오사한테 하고 여러
So he understood then that the Buddha had there was no interest of his own in like ordaining his son and taking his son. It was purely for his son. It was in order to benefit his son. So he understood that.
되는데 상제지라 그래. 다 단다고 힘이나 거라베다 사유를 단단한 숨시다성 플라를 얘기를 송으로 와.
And so in that moment, then the Buddha said, if, whereas before, there was so much anger in the man's mind that if he were to die in that moment, he would take rebirth in the hell realms. Now, with so much purity in his mind, he said that if that man were to die in that very moment, he would immediately be reborn in the God realms of the 33. So generally, this is an example for why it's really important to always examine our mind state, so that, we can know that any time we give rise to negative mind states like anger and jealousy and so forth, in that very moment it causes us suffering. And also, ultimately, it causes us suffering. It leads to, because of the karma that we create, it leads to circumstances of suffering in the future. And then, on the other hand, when we give rise to positive mind states like love and compassion, renunciation, faith and devotion, and so forth, then we feel good. We feel happy in the moment, and those mind states also lead to positive, karmic outcomes in the future. So, we're always going to have circumstances that cause us to give rise to negative emotions. But what we can do is we can monitor the intensity of those negative emotions, so that if we do become angry, we need to try to cool that anger, like not to let it become so strong that it completely overtakes us. And we also need to, do what we can to let go of those negative emotions when they arise, so that they don't last for a long time. They don't, that we don't hold on to them, so that they don't become like, carried out for a long time. And then on the other hand, when we, our mind is always changing. We have a lot of different mind states that are filling our mind at any given time. Sometimes we have a mind of afflictive emotion, and sometimes we have a really virtuous mind. Sometimes we feel, like we have the wish to benefit others. Sometimes we have love and compassion and faith and devotion. And our mind is not constant. The mind states that come into our mind stream are different, so we need to try to make those virtuous mind states that are a cause of peace and happiness more constant. We need to do what we can to make more and more of them come, and for them to last, longer and longer.
주종 디강지 배 뭐정말 지와 차고 배 넘버 몽보 되는지 이제 그냥 나나 배다 걸 갈색 거지 나서 뭐 여러 텔레되는 건 룰을 간에 카디요래 되는 샘을 간에 카디요래 보다 되는지 인류 히 강에 뒤지고 원이 강에 뒤고 가서 내소 태비야 뭐네다 고민 말이로 이제 공자와 텔레되네 샘을 내소 태고 그래 룰을 내소 태고 그래 배는 참에 다 계단 가서지 룰 나게 요나 나대와데 지 다 계단 매드니 사는 팽기로 와 이는 거네 나라 영용도 집이는지 매사나 팽도 팽기요래 이미나 매사와래 공자와도 뭐 편도 체기도 와 되게 공자는 차와도 원에 자기가 와 지금 매사는 기타 내가 와 상상지 소자야도 용기로 와 이미는 뭐지 나사데 상마도 차야면도 와 되는지 공자와 들려되는 이제 콜리션 코란 이제 알지 솔로라고 다만라고 용기로 와 어떻게 되는지 배네
Somebody?
유sem민자한테 도로 연구에 스펙 밸런스 도로 연구한테 유sem민자 다마라고 지금 연구를 했어.
So, there are a lot of different Dharma practices, and they're all, the point or the function of all of the various different Dharma practices is to diminish our negative emotions, to help us so that we don't give rise to negative emotions so much, so frequently, that we're more, that we have more of a tendency towards virtuous mind states and less of a tendency towards non-virtuous mind states. And meditation is extremely beneficial. It's actually inconceivably great in its benefit. And so, not only, does it lead to, meditation is the method to attain the state of complete omniscience, but also temporarily, it's extremely beneficial, like right now, just in our present life. Because generally, right now in the world, people are really busy. They're constantly busy, and they have lots and lots of conceptual thoughts. Like their minds are as busy as their bodies, and so there's a lot of mental difficulty. A lot of it's difficult. That busyness is difficult mentally, and it's difficult physically. So we need to rest, and the best method of rest is meditation. When we meditate, our mind gets true rest. That's really the only way to achieve true mental rest. And also the body rests, because when the mind rests, that's very closely linked to the body. So when the mind gets true rest, the body also is restored. And we have all sorts of illnesses, and of course when we take medicine, this benefits, but also meditation can really benefit a lot. Drupal says in his own experience, with illness, when he has, he's taken medicine, and that can help. But the best, the most beneficial, the best thing he can do for himself is meditate. Because when he meditates, he finds that he really can overcome like a physical illness too, because as a result of meditation, then the body and mind are relaxed, and at ease, and one becomes balanced, like things fall back into a balance. And also, when things, like it brightens one's mental and physical constitution. So it's a very restorative practice, both physically and mentally.